Hey everyone, so I wanted to do another video today on temptation and speak a little bit further about how I believe it works so it might help other people. So we're all interconnected, and as you overcome certain levels of awareness, what happens is you essentially understand that certain behavioral patterns in the collective are no longer you. They still exist out there, but they don't identify with your consciousness. However, if you surround yourself by someone and your field is open, you will feel the temptations that might haunt them and allow them to still come in your field. And if you choose to identify with them, then you're choosing to identify with the emotional feeling of that pattern behavior of belief that that person is believing at the time. So I'll give an example and talk about alcohol since it's very common in society. So if you've overcome alcohol and you understand it's poison, your body will essentially reject it or revolt against it. However, if you surround yourself by people who you can feel the purity of their soul, but they have not done inner work of understanding the depth that they hold, they will cling to alcohol still or promote that behavior because it's helping them cope with life. Now, if you surround yourself in that environment, you are putting yourself in a situation where you're not fully accepting that when people are drinking alcohol, they are in a distorted state because they lose control over their mind. You're not accepting that that person is where they are, and you put yourself in a situation where that energy of distortion can still attach to you and follow you. So it's not just a matter of kind of putting boundaries up in your aura field when you walk into a situation. It's also acknowledging that where you put your time and space is important too. If you choose to go surround yourself by people who are drinking a bunch of alcohol, then you're not fully accepting that once they start drinking, you've kind of lost them. They think that they're becoming more them because it's dimming their ego, but the relationships that you have with people or conversations you have with them when they're drinking, they're not usually able to match that depth if they're not drinking alcohol, which only hurts you because essentially you're saying, well, they were able to meet me to this depth when they were drinking, but then you get disappointed because you can't have the same conversation with them when they're sober. If someone can't have a real conversation with you depth-wise when they are sober, meaning they haven't had anything, then they're bypassing their own feelings, and it's only going to disappoint you and hurt you down the road. So temptations only actually exist if you believe that you are that thought that's coming into your field or that feeling that's coming into your field. The more aware and confident you get in who you really are, which takes time, staying away from social media, staying away from other people. I personally sometimes am guided by the spirits that surround me to read certain books where I really identify with the main character, usually in like a fantasy novel, and I will basically pull energy from that character into my field, and it will remind me of who I am, because I find personally that a lot of fantasy novels reflect my inner depth more accurately than this world does, just because this world can seem very bland at times, as everyone knows, which is why people love films, etc. So going back to temptation, something's only a temptation if you identify with the habit or act. Now, if you've ever acted out the act in the past and you haven't identified it as not you, and you just ignore it, then it's still attached to you. It's still lingering in your field. Also, if you choose to not identify with a behavior, but you choose to surround yourself with people who still do that behavior, there's a part of you that is not fully accepting the negative consequences of the behavior that the person is acting out, and you're not fully accepting that that energy is still attached to your field, and you're holding on to an emotional attachment or validation to that person, which is actually hindering you. Because the more inner depth you actually hold of yourself and the awareness of how reality is structured, the more cognizant you're going to be of your time and who you give your energy to, and what behaviors you choose to allow in your field, and the awareness that of the expectations you choose of anyone that is in your field, right? Because it will confuse your consciousness if you don't hold people to the standard that you hold yourself. I mean, it just is. When people baby other people, it hurts them. So if you have the ability to see someone's potential, you set the bar for them because you see them. So you're reminding them of who they really are, which is part of your path, right? Is to be a spiritual mirror to them. And then that makes space for them to get there. But that doesn't mean that you wait around for them. You give them space to see if they rise to the version of themselves that you know who they are, which gives them confidence in their ability to undo the patterns and unidentify with the patterns that they've been feeding. If they choose not to rise into that, that's not your problem. But if you sit around to wait for them to rise, you're only going to hurt your field. And this is why you suffer, or we all suffer, because we all do it. And we will create stories and loops. And part of that level that you're having to overcome, or I'm having to overcome, is the attachment to someone's behavior. If we attach to anything outside of ourselves, we will suffer, because we have to fully understand, our ego needs to grasp that God has everything under control, that everything that is meant to happen will happen, and everything is going perfectly the way it should. If we attach too much to the future, we're just replaying futuristic possibilities based off past pattern habits that our nervous system has created from a survival mechanism of the ego. This over time will get the ego to soften, to lean into God and understand that everything is okay. One thing I've learned for myself is that when you recognize a pattern and it creates a large emotional charge, find a way to express yourself so you can articulate that pattern externally, because that allows the emotional charge to leave your field. Exactly what I'm doing now by sharing these videos with you. These videos are a form for me to express emotional things that I feel inside in order to articulate how I process the world, so other people might ideally benefit from it as well. And I benefit it too if I go back and watch my videos if I need a reminder. So this is something that I've learned, that if you've processed something but you don't speak it, it can actually fester inside of you and build up a lot of energy and tension that you need to get out in some form or way. So I hope this video helps, and I hope everyone has a good day.